Hi, everybody. I have no idea where Guy's at this today, so it is me. So we're starting in with the comic creation. I'm a little early. I normally start this in June, but I have nothing else going on right now. So, no time like the present to get comic work done. How is everyone? How are you? How's it going? There's like one person on here. Hello, person coming in from Guy's Twitch channel. I am starting the artworks and working on issue 3. You there. Come in here. Let's do this thing. Okay. I think that's a good start. Okay. Down this way. Way, not was. Nuts. As I said before, Guy last I saw was going to check out a movie, and I haven't seen him since. Hey Brent, how you doing? So he said he'll check in eventually. I don't know when that will be. I don't know if he's even going to be here tonight. So you have me tonight. There you go. This ought to be a fun-filled evening. Down this way is the med bay. She takes it out on everyone. How are you tonight, Brent? How's it going? goes well for me tonight. It's been an interesting day. Decided to take a little time for myself earlier this evening, and apparently it was time I really needed because I feel a heck of a lot better. Yeah, I have the smooth music going tonight. I'm hoping to get a lot done tonight, or at least a page done tonight. That would be nice. So why are we going? I have a checkup with Dr. Klein. Oh yeah, she's so it's a new issue, so and a new day. So I have a new shirt for Brig this episode. So she's no longer going to be flipping people off with her shirt. This music can't decide if it wants to be fast or slow. Who's your little friend? Just joined us. Oh, I heard about you. It's got a warble in it, man. This is nice. I think that's a pretty good insult. Like, the doctor's not even talking to Brig. She's talking to Mammy about Brig. I like that. Like, here's a medical question. The doctor should be asking Brig, and she's not asking Brig. She's asking someone else. Oh, this is beautiful because it makes it really makes the explosion that happens in a couple of pages even better. I like this. Hello! Hello, person. Welcome. As I was telling Brent a little earlier, I have no idea where Guy is. Last I heard he was going to check in with us, and I haven't heard from him since. So, I hope he is enjoying the movie. And I hope he is able to join us a little later, but mostly I want him to have a nice day. And that person is gone. Oh well. Yeah. And some of the people will come in just for Guy, and I'm okay with that. This is his streams. I am hopefully Restream is working on it where I can start adding my streams to this as well, because it would be nice to have a bunch of different people's streams coming in and coming together for this collective. So it isn't just a one-man band. You know, we all have our different people that we bring in and out. And I know I'm not everyone's cup of tea either. Until you get into the sanity and insanity of my humor. I'm also hoping more of the guys start joining us. It would be nice to have, you know, like, I haven't seen Pepper for a few days, which arguably this is a holiday, so taking the night off, not so much of a bother, especially after a 3-day weekend like it has been. Is he in Texas? Ah, okay. I didn't know that. Well, you learn something new all the time. Speaking of conventions, Toronto, the Toronto Comic Festival, they have a real problem on their hands. Woo, boy, did they screw up. So, here it is. That convention is for independent comic artists and just comic artists in general. It's a really, really big Canadian convention. And they announced their guest list. And one of the people on their guest list is this person named Pink Cat. Pink Cat is big into crypto, has never written a comic, and plagiarizes other artists' work and retraces it and sells it as her own through NTFs. And this is the person that the convention has decided deserved a featured guest slot at their convention. And their Twitter feed is filled with hate and not only very homophobic and transphobic and racist rants, but it also is very anti-creator. Like, this person has flat out said that amateurs don't deserve a platform to express and create. They don't deserve a large platform. And it has a lot of people upset. And deservedly so. Like, if I was a person going to that, would I want to be at a convention that is suddenly hostile towards the community that it's supposed to represent? And, if they wanted to bring a controversial voice as kind of a differing opinion to a comic festival, that's fine. There are tons of them. They could have chosen a lot of different people who are very controversial, who have, things to say, not necessarily good, but there are plenty that are comic artists that you could bring in to talk about comics and kind of be that wave. But instead, the wave they chose is crypto, and the slimy crypto at that really brings in art theft. as a money-making venture. And the more people looked at this person's art, the more they started seeing things stolen from other sources. Like, it isn't just, how to describe it? It isn't just, oh, look, here's a pose here. It is a full retrace of that person's art and then slightly changed to a pink cat, and that's it. And it's disturbing that that's the standard. Particularly when you have myself and Guy, and we're here every night busting our ass to make a comic, and we're being told that we don't deserve a platform because we're quote-unquote amateurs. But now they have a con that's backing up this idea. I don't know. I find that very disturbing and very odd. And they're supposed to have some sort of statement released, and they haven't released anything yet. So and there's a lot of allegations leveled at the convention that maybe somebody was paid off, maybe some strings were pulled to get this very toxic person in as a featured guest. But it doesn't matter how they got in, ultimately. I think, sadly, the convention is going to pay for their hubris. And hopefully it's just this year. Maybe, hey, they go through with this person and they take a real whack and they learn their lesson. Don't bring in an art thief to represent the comic world. That'd be nice. But there's also a possibility that they don't learn their lesson. And they truly have decided that they want to talk more about crypto and cryptocurrencies than they do about comics. And that would be a huge shame. Everyone would lose. Sammy, why your mouth so big? Why you have huge mouth? Yeah, you're gonna get very different. Guy will talk at length about Star Trek, and I will talk at length about comics. Um, Particularly Japanese comics. I love Japanese comics. Hello, person. Um, I don't think we talk about comics nearly enough that we should. Because I think there's a lot of theories that we could do, and a lot of just kind of the changing of eras. You know, um, we're no longer in an era that a comic like Cerebus could survive. Like Dave Sim he could not survive in the era we are in now. Like, he would have been taken to task long before Cerebus became big in our culture. And I'm not necessarily certain if that's a good thing or not. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not like I'm saying we should bring back this guy. Absolutely not. He does not deserve a place in our current era. We cannot be tolerant to sexism and racism and elitism and everything that Dave Sim represented. But without his voice, I think the comic industry would have been poorer for it. You know, he was the voice of the independent artist during that time period. And someone has just popped in. It is a guy. Hey!
I made it. I lived.
Hey,
We went and
guy.
saw a movie with lots of blood. It was very funny.
It was very spurty. It was like fountains.
It was like fountains.
Yeah.
We went and saw
Shogun Assassin.
Shogun Assassin, which was the 1970s classic movie of there you go, got it. But it was the 1970s classic. Thank you for starting the show, by the way.
You're welcome.
But it's from the 70s where the samurai flicks from the 70s where they cut the person and then it's as they fall over.
Yeah, I know the type.
Those are the best movies ever.
Do you know how those movies started, by the way? Why they were so spurty?
Uh-oh. Why are they so spurty?
It was a mistake in one of the first samurai movies. I can't remember who directed it, but in Japan, they were using blood effects, and the effects artist accidentally pressurized the blood spurt too high. So when they did the slash, it just went everywhere. It was anime blood going just. The director goes,
awesome.
I like it. We're keeping that. And that's kind of how that started.
Makes sense.
So I was going into. Did you hear the big kerfluffle that came out this weekend with TCAF.
With who?
TCAF, Toronto Comic Art Festival.
Oh. No. And TIL. There's a Toronto Comic Arts Festival.
That is TCAF.
That's what I mean. TIL is Today I Learned.
So they announced their guest list. And one of the people on their guest list is a artist by the name of Pink Cat, who isn't a comic artist, has nothing to do with the comic community. She is a NFT pusher. An influencer.
Gotcha.
And she steals other artists' art, retraces it, and sells it for her own.
Ooh, that's brutal.
And has said publicly, after she was announced, that she feels that amateur artists don't deserve a platform. It's only for professionals.
Well,
and
she sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, so people are up in arms over it, deservedly
Rightfully so.
And yeah, TCAF still hasn't come out with a statement regarding this person, and people are getting angrier and angrier because they're not saying, hey, we didn't realize what this person was about. And kind of my take on it, my thought on it was, you know, if they wanted to bring in a controversial voice as something to have kind of a differing opinion of things,
right?
There is a lot more artists they could have chosen than someone who's in crypto and not even a comic artist.
Right. We have a lot of artists who could potentially be nasty.
Yeah. And since this is in Canada, a lot of Canadian artists.
Yeah, agreed.
So there's a lot of allegations against the comic, or about the board of directors rather, that someone might have been paid off to let this artist in.
Right.
Even down to maybe somebody has NTFs or NFTs from this artist, and they're trying to artificially pump up how much that
value.
Art is worth so that they can sell it. Like, there's, no matter how you look at this,
this
it
isn't
is
good.
Not pretty.
Right. Wow. That's brutal.
Yeah.
It's super brutal. Wow, that's wild.
I was kind of talking about how, you know, people like Dave Sim, who is very influential with Cerebus. Like, Cerebus kept the indie scene alive when it was dying during the 80s.
Sure.
I don't think something like that would survive in today's world, because of how Dave Sim acts.
Good night, Brent. We'll see you next stream, which will be tomorrow.
Yep.
Tomorrow morning. Sleep well, my friend.
Sleep well, Brent. You have a nice night. But yeah.
I see what you're saying.
You know, you have to be way more careful with your attitude and your words nowadays. But I'm not sure that's really fair to the comics. like we also don't separate the creator from the creations anymore, and
Mhm.
I'm not sure. Like, I'm not justifying um, Pink Cat at all,
Right.
nor am I justifying Dave Sim, but it's an interesting look, and it's an interesting conversation to have, given what's going on now.
Okay.
You know, particularly since you and I bust our ass every night to do comics, and here's a person saying, "You don't matter. Get out of here."
Right. I don't have any interest in anybody who does that. I mean, I've got better things
Yeah.
to do in my life. I know you do too.
Yeah. But it's the fact they're giving this person a platform, and that's not good.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. That is uncool. That is really uncool. Huh.
So we can only hope that whatever's happening with the board of and you actually would have an interesting perspective because you help run a big convention.
Yeah,
Like,
that kind of stuff we try to avoid, though. I mean, we don't want to rock the boat.
yeah,
As far as what our convention does, we don't want that kind of mess. You know, that doesn't mean that we don't end up in it.
no, and you could accidentally do it and not even be aware. But like, okay, let's say that NDK brings in someone that you didn't realize was a terrible person and a terrible guest.
Yeah.
You would be releasing statements saying, "Hey, this guy's no longer invited. The community has spoken. We are behind the community." Or at least I assume that's what you would do, right?
It is pretty close to what we would do, yeah. And there are definitely some, I don't know, there are gray areas that are weird. Like, for example, let's say we invited, I don't know, Brian Simpson, the famous artist, and we find out just before the show that Brian Simpson, the famous artist, is not in fact the famous artist. He's a sham, and I don't know, blah 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 blah. Bad things have happened. We may uninvite you, but it might be a difficult problem trying to get all of that,
done.
Yeah, I mean, all that under control. So, hello, Donald. That Donald guy. He's a troublemaker.
Hey, Donald.
If ever a troublemaker, it's that Donald guy. Okay, this one was not okay. So when was having a problem here? I'm trying to pull up the correct version of the maps at this point in time. So I need just one little bit of information.
So June 17th and June 19th. So they're coming up on it.
Yeah, they're really close. So that's kind of.
And they just announced their guest list.
Right. All right, 24971. That's who we're looking for. No, we're not. we're looking for 23896. I'll head to Moment real quick. There we go. Actually, no. We're talking about here. Brian attacks next time. Fox. We'll do this one, and then I go here. And then that gives us pretty much the same real estate.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because that's the hard part is how do you say it without it rocking the boat, right? Okay. The public has said that Brian did a bad thing. Okay, whatever. But technically speaking, that's hearsay by legal standards. So that causes a lot of problems with legality. If I say, we've told Brian that we will not back him because he eats pineapple on his pizza, and we all know that that's bad. And then it turns out you don't eat pineapple on your pizza. We just opened ourselves up for liability. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. And so part of this is that there's a lot of that kind of stuff that we have to worry about.
Yeah.
You know, if the artist community has decided they don't like you because you eat pineapple on your pizza, and we decide, okay, we should uninvite you because we agree that pineapple eating pizza people are bad. Which, by the way, I eat pineapple on pizza. I love that stuff. But
Oh yeah.
I'm just making a comment that works for the example.
Yeah. No, I
If
get
it
you.
turns
I
out,
get
then
you.
and then it turns out that you don't actually eat pineapple on your pizza, then we opened ourselves up for liable on that, and that's part of the issue. So yeah, there is a reason why sometimes you don't say something.
Yeah.
And why,
The problem is that this person publicly has made a lot of statements
yeah.
that
I mean, and a lot of times it's obvious.
yeah.
And I mean, like, we've had a couple of guests that were like, we're just not even messing with you. You know what I mean? It's like, Okay. We've lined up with Betelgeuse. Wow. Look how close Betelgeuse is to Moment. This is the star that's in my story right now. The big red thing right there, that's Betelgeuse. That means Moment's close enough to Betelgeuse that you would see it in the night sky. It would light up the night sky. That's kind of cool, actually. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually understand exactly what you were saying, Donald. You were saying when releasing said troublemaker is exactly what we would do. But QuACk had this problem at one point in time too, and a lot of people have, which is, what do you say when they want you to say something, right? Like, you know, here's Brian, and he turns out to be a pineapple pizza eater, and that's horrible, and he's even said it publicly on the internet and everything, and we should dismiss him. But like, the NFT thing is a total example of this. We all know it's bad, but there's nothing illegal about it, right? So I mean,
Even
there's
if
nothing illegal.
Yeah. Well,
There's nothing illegal. There's nothing illegal about inviting somebody who's inappropriate for your venue.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
No,
if we invited, let's say as an example, for NDK, we invited Stan Lee. Say he wasn't dead. Like, if we invited him now, it'd be way awesome. But if we, right, you would sit there and go, what the heck are they doing? Stan Lee's never worked in anime. He never works in the Japanese industry. He's never done any of this stuff. He's not. It is totally obvious that they are doing something shady, right? Everybody freaks out,
Yeah.
Well, there's nothing illegal about that. So if we decide, this isn't good for us, and uninvite Stanley, and then don't say anything, because if we say something, then you got kind of a, we just, hurt Stanley's feelings, So, well, I mean, that's the thing. That's what I was saying. If we put out disclaimers saying we do not approve of American comics, and we understand that that's, like that kind of thing, you could see that rocking the boat in the wrong way.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, that wouldn't go well. We uninvited Stanley because you told us that we shouldn't have it at our Japanese convention, and we understand we've made a mistake because we don't agree with American comics. All of a sudden, now we've screwed ourselves really badly in a different direction. So it isn't as straightforward. It really isn't. I mean, because like we will sit there in the board meeting and say, okay, who's being stupid here? And we can say that openly in a board meeting. We just can't say that publicly. Right. Or Samuel Jackson, are you kidding me? All we need to do is warn when Alex is talking. God, he dropped like 62 F-bombs on Geek Tank this morning. And I was like, really? You just like completely blew our PG-13 rating. Like 5 seconds.
I don't even know who this is.
My buddy. He's a buddy of mine. But when he gets riled up, he stops being nice.
Okay.
He forgets being nice. And so he's our newest member of Geek Tank. We've invited him to the Geek Tank crew, which is great. But because he's a gamer. He's a hardcore gamer. Like the way I concentrate on Star Trek is how he concentrates on the rules for Magic, D&D 5e, Samurai Showdown, the video game. You know what I mean? Like that's his jam. Yeah. His brain is that. But well, Rule 47 overrides Rule 62 whenever. Oh my God! So he's part of Geek Tank now, but he's also intense, very, very intense. So it's a little difficult. So
it sounds like you're speaking from experience here, guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Not and like whether you agree with NFTs or not, that I think that's less of a problem. Because if it was an artist that was creating their own original work and making it as a success in NFTs, and yeah, they'd be a little controversial in there, I think it would be slightly different. But the fact that they're stealing other people's art to do it and calling it their own, I think that's where they're getting into problems.
And though I agree, that is again one of those things. It is illegal to steal stuff. Well, is it illegal to steal art? Is always the question. Like, we don't really have a law for that.
Yeah, we do.
For stealing art?
Yeah.
Well, okay. Yeah, I agree. He's fun too. He's one of my closest and dearest friends. So,
copyright.
Right, but if that's a violation of copyright, then that individual should have already been arrested and or something like that, right? If that's the case, it's easy and clean cut for the convention.
Yeah.
Because then there's no legal problems. We don't have to tiptoe around it. So-and-so and such and such. Brian Simpson has been arrested for eating pineapples on pizza. Oh, okay. Well, that's easy. We're not inviting him to our convention. That makes it simple. But if it's people just know that Brian's been eating pineapple on pizza, and even if people do in general know, but the law hasn't been involved, it can still kick up a lawsuit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
so
I
that's
think they're
a problem.
Yeah, that's a really good problem to bring up.
Right? Because I agree, I concur. You don't want people like that in our We don't want people. We don't want people like that in our world, and I'm okay with that. You know. Why are you blinging every time I hit 0? Wow, how far do we have to go around before we get back to Beetlejuice?
All the way.
Oh,
Just all the way, guy.
Milli Vanilli art drawers. That's the thing. That's the thing with art. It's really hard. And I mean, it's hard to say this person's bad, this person's illegal, this person's whatever. It's really hard to say that because you can't be sure.
And people want an instant statement. But what
Right.
you just brought up really tells me they're probably having to talk to their lawyers first and craft a statement.
That's exactly what they're doing. That's what we'd be doing. And we'd be locking the staff down and telling them don't say anything. We'd be totally doing that. It would be brutal. I feel like I'm... We're going to do first things first. We're going to take you. We're going to say yes, save it. But we're going to redo these stars back here. Blame it on the paint. Yeah, yeah. I am not opposed to your comment here. We're going to do a new thing today.
So yeah, that was the big thing that came out.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday was when that happened.
Wow.
It's when they announced her. And there's been little response from the convention. And they're now having to deal with a lot of the guests now pulling out and artists pulling out.
Yeah. Yeah. And they probably are crafting a response, and that's probably exactly what's going on. And I mean, I feel for the guys. That's not cool, and it's unpleasant, and I totally get it. We haven't been there because our con chair is really, really aggressive about what she allows and does not allow, and she's very good at seeking it out.
Yeah.
So she doesn't go. I mean, she doesn't allow certain types of people to be there anyway.
Well, and I heard, I don't know how true this is, but I've heard this is a new board of directors that have taken over.
That's not good. It's always somewhat sad when that happens. Okay, so this is the test of whether this works. Star right above Beetlejuice. That's not going to line up. That's not going to line up. So it does distort. Okay.
So it that idea of you know, this is not necessarily a first time convention, but if it's a new board of directors, like, they also have a problem because they don't have that experience of making sure.
Which that makes me even sadder.
Yeah.
You know?
And I hope it doesn't kill the festival, because
Yeah.
it's a good festival. But it'd be a shame if a new group.
Shame if your group got screwed up.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is tilting down. That's part of our problem. I'm like, why can't I find Betelgeuse again? Well, the reason you can't find Betelgeuse is because the star field is shifting. This is all Brent's fault, by the way. I would like to openly say this is Brent's fault. He started it. So if he whines about this, I'm going to be very upset.
I'm sensing a story here.
So today I'm like, the star fields that I've been using for, I'm not kidding, way too many years, I built in a program called Star, which, just so you know, ran on Windows 11 or Windows 3.11 natively and was upgraded to Windows 95.
Okay.
So its maximum resolution was 1024 by 1024, and that took all of your processor power, and it would sit there and you do it, and it'd go dot 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 dot, and it would take like, I don't know, a minute for it to make a 1024 by 1024 rendering of stars for you. I've been using those images since I think I set them up in 1999. So 23 years I've been using those same 10 images of stars. Well,
Okay.
no matter what, they're looking a little ragged. They're looking...
Time has come.
The time has come. We've got to do something about this. So I was like, I'll just do new stars. I've got a brush for making stars and stuff like that. Then Brent said, well, you've got all those star charts. Why don't you put those to use instead? And then I was like, he's right. Because if I actually do the stars from around Moment, then when the ship comes out in Moment, the stars in the background would be correct for Moment. And then the Neil deGrasse Tysons out there of the world would read my comic and go, oh, you got the stars right. Did you hear that story about Titanic?
That they got the stars wrong for the night sky.
Right, and Neil deGrasse Tyson pointed it out, and so James Cameron had to go back and fix all the stars.
Yeah, he got it. They got it everything correct except for the night sky for that night.
Yep.
Because, and that's the one thing we did know.
Right. That made it funnier. Anyway, so the TLDR on this is he's not wrong. Also, it's kind of cool to realize that if we did do this from Betelgeuse or from Moment, when you jump in, it would actually have Betelgeuse sitting in the night sky, which, depending on where it is, I should really find out how far Betelgeuse is at the moment to see whether it's on one side or the other of the light line. So let's make a shot real quick. I don't even know what those guys are. I know what those guys are. What's wild is the different night sky objects.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. There we go. 232 light years.
Shake, 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 Sonora, shake your body line. Work, Sonora, work it all the time.
So 230 might be on the other side of Betelgeuse's explodey line. That's why I have this book.
So I was working on dialogue for this page. I thought, you know what would make like Brig absolutely hate this person, this doctor, is if the doctor didn't ask, acknowledged Brig, that Brig was there, but started asking Mammy questions about Brig.
Right. 2581 minus 1620. It's well within.
Oh, I sent you a interesting YouTube video to watch later.
I saw that. I, of course, was not watching it because I was in a movie theater, but yes.
Yeah. It is tips and tricks this guy uses in Clip to speed up his process.
Cool.
And there's a lot of really interesting stuff in there that he uses. Like the pinch tool.
Pinch tool, huh?
Yeah, it's under, if you're doing vector art, it's under the vector correct line tool at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Check this out. Okay. You can go in and let's say, I hate this line. Did I make it a raster? No. You can go in and pinch it and start playing with the line. See?
Oh, I see. Oh, I see. I like that. That's cool.
So you can go in and like see this right here where it doesn't connect. I can force it to come in and connect.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He had a bunch of different things like that in there where it was like little things to help speed you up.
Right.
Now, the one thing you are going to have to get used to is with this guy's voice, it sounds like frickin' Timon from Timon and Pumbaa talking.
Okay. That's a thing.
And I'm listening to it because he has a very New York accent.
Right.
It sounds like frickin' Timon. I'm sitting there like, why do I feel like you're going to start breaking out and singing Hakuna Matata at any moment? And then I realized why.
There we go again, the saw noise. So the saw noise begins because the sprinklers are on. That's still that's become a funny story now. It's like, so this is what happened the other night. I'm like, there's some kind of weird saw going on outside. I don't know what's going on. It's very strange. It makes me slightly uncomfortable. It was very funny.
Yeah, I was here for that.
Yep. I'm going to put that up here. Might be easier to do these this way. That's right. Once this is done, it'll actually be cool. So I'm not going to actually complain too much. All right. I hope you can see the new Top Gun too. Everybody is saying they were not disappointed by the new Top Gun.
I don't know if I'm going to see it or not.
Where?
I heard it's really, really good. I heard it's an absolute fun time. I just don't like
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise as an
No,
actor. Because Tom Cruise,
I don't. Yeah.
Tom Cruise has a tendency of playing
Tom Cruise?
one type. Yeah, he plays Tom Cruise.
Yeah. That's totally cool.
Mm-hmm.
I actually am looking forward to it myself someday. But, you know, it's one of those listed under, I got to figure out the way to do it. At the moment, the kid's under restrictions. So in order for me to go anywhere or do anything, I have to accept, you know, the he's under restriction and stuff. And so it's one of those things. I'm responsible for the kid. That means I don't get to necessarily do stuff.
Oh, because he's under 17.
No, so he snuck out while we walked away one time while we were not here. So he lost his privilege of being home alone.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So what happened is, the problem, of course, is that that's wonderful and great and all well and good, and we're doing our good parent duty and yada, yada, yada. But the drawback to it, of course, means that somebody has to be with him at all time. So there's that, you know.
Yeah.
That's the drawback. So.
Oh my God, I love the pinch tool. Wow, that's such a fun tool.
Why do none of these stars line up? I don't even know what this star is. I mean, who is this star? Who are you people?
Why am I in this handbasket?
24031. Who's 24031? I was consistent about stuff. HD 33340. Really? It's like I'm just not making my life easy. 24031. I know this is a star we've got. It's in the same area. Oddly, 24031 doesn't seem to be part of our list. Either that star is massive, or we didn't add it for reasons. No Colton. Well, Brent was here, but he didn't stay. He had to go to bed. So.
And he was hanging out with me
For a long time,
earlier.
yeah. I mean, this is Moment. That should be merely Keep, right? Maybe. What's the Tycho reading? 698? It doesn't have a Tycho number.
Tycho 9.
It's only 4 light years out from Moment. What the hell is that star? And why isn't it on my list? 24031.
If it's only 4 light years out, that star would be enormous in the sky.
Right? That's what I was saying. It's huge. 24031. That's the Paragon. It says it right here. 24031. Why is that not on? Because it's under its Tycho number. Okay. Now see that? Something's not right with my numbers again. Yeah, Alpha Centauri is 4 light years away. You're right. I mean, 4 light years is not a big deal. But you can see it's a huge star in the night sky. There's something's happening with it. So I don't think that's the right. I think I renamed it because I think that I discovered all these numbers were not right. So I feel like Moment, that this should be merely Keep, except that's not a class 1. Or class K. Whereas Halton Hold is a B star. So I'll bet you that's Halton Hold. Is what that is. 24971's what it's saying on that one though. And it should be Betelgeuse word. Word. I like the sinus. That one's good. Sirius. Yeah, you're right. And I know that I'm not making fun of you. I'm making fun of your autocorrect. I knew exactly what you were saying. Autocorrect is a menace to society.
Yes, it is. Particularly when you're using words that you know are correct but aren't in its dictionary. So it
Mm-hmm.
tries to correct it to something else, and
Right.
that's the wrong word to use.
So the reason that you're getting this suspicious look from me is this star should be called the Paragon. That's what this star should be right here at frickin' 4 light years out. That's a very close star. That's a hop jump. But that's not Harlton Hold, which is what I'm showing on my map, and I'm now annoyed because the map shows Harlton Hold here for a moment at about that distance. So some number is not right. Except that here's the other thing that makes me mad. If you look at the wall here, here's Bellatrix. Right here is back here is going to be where Betelgeuse is. So from moment at 4 parsecs, that's a star that's right here. And there isn't a star there. So that bright star is like in this zone right here and not showing up on my map. And I don't like that because that implies my maps are wrong, and I'm not going to go through all of the mess of redoing these maps.
How old
You know what
are
I
the
mean?
maps that you're using?
Well,
Which
and I'm
guy?
wondering whether my data is off.
Again, how old are the maps that you're using?
They're all from Gaia 2, which makes me think that Celestia updated to Gaia 3. And if that happened, then plausibly the numbers are off because the stars have gotten better. So Gaia is a probe that's orbiting around the sun. What Gaia does is when it's on one side of the sun, it takes a picture of all the stars. When it's on the other side, it takes the same picture of the same field of stars. Then you compare the two fields and you see which stars move relative to the other stars. I know, right? Don't tell Brent that we're messing with the maps.
And that's when Brent had a heart attack.
Right.
He could feel it in his sleep.
Right. It's up to come yell at me.
I felt a disturbance
It's
in the force. Messing with those star charts, are you again?
But this is disturbing to me. Like if I'm here, this gives me, say, the 10 nearest stars. 23896. Right, that's the closest star. Okay, that is the correct star. That says 23896. It says moment. Moment's correct. Okay, good. At least we know that that's the correct nearest star. 24031, though, is the next closest, so it's saying that 24124. It's Weslow's Citadel. Right? It says that's the next one out. Okay, that's correct. So that's the correct one. Then 24477. Not even on this list. Oh yes. I figured that was a cute one. I've been taking pictures of my minifigs and making comics about it because it cracks me. No, it says a repop, but it came up in my memories and I thought it was funny, so I redid it. I re-released it. Thank you, Donald. I appreciate that. No, I'm just tired tonight. That's actually, it's a good night for me to be puzzled over numbers here because I'm not in any mindset to do artwork tonight. So this is a good night to sit here and puzzle over numbers for me. I'm actually going to nuke Betelgeuse though, so that'll be fun.
And that's when all the stars changed.
He needed space, dang it. Star Trek dad joke. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Unlocked.
I think I'm going to take some of the big elements that are in the night sky, and then I'm just going to leave it. And I kind of feel like I've been more than diligent enough. You know?
Yep.
Oh, riddle me this, Batman. Oh, it is. Damn it. How did it turn sideways? I don't even want to know. We are Captain's mast. You mean to hang you from? Is that what you're after? Yard arm?
What if you want to listen to the sirens? You need something to strap yourself to.
I'm wondering whether we have, like, whether we're keel hauling Donald now all of a sudden. Oh man, keel hauling is brutal too. Oof.
Yeah, that one's also not. So I was teaching myself animation with Clip Studio earlier today, and that's an interesting experience.
Right. So, if you're wondering what Donald's talking about, Captain's Mast is like minor infractions on board. So, like nothing that's capital punishment worthy. So I'm actually kind of being funny whenever I say that it's, you know, keel hauling and all that stuff. So there is a brig down by the, to answer your question, Donald, there's a brig in the forward section of the lower deck, which holds about 5 people. And since the QuaCk only has 48 people on board, that's a significant portion of the crew. But you can also lock them in their quarters. I mean, you know. But, and that actually has been a discussion we've been having online about Pike and the way that Pike handles his crew. And that has come up with a very interesting discussion. So, yeah, well, and that's the thing. Is there... That's the quantification here, is as to what purpose. And the thing is that I feel like, and this is a personal belief, I feel like punitive punishment culture is not as efficient as a respect-based culture, it will work in a pinch, but you get more out of people if you can get their respect and operate with them. If you put them into a punitive session where they're kind of in a cycle of punishment and stuff like that, then you end up with a lot less efficiency out of them. That's my personal opinion on the matter. So Captain's Mast would be sort of, I think that it would be on the books, but I don't think people would actually do it. You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't happen often. Because a couple of things. For one, you want to be there on the ship, and the biggest punishment we can do is just tell you, okay, fine, don't be here. You know, like, that's like the biggest punishment. Fine, we'll send you home.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Right. I mean, we don't have to have you here. So, I don't know. Because that is a good question about that. And the thing is that naval vessels have a very steep tradition. All of them do. Walking the plank, keel hauling, all of that stuff. Yard arms, captain's mast, all of that stuff is punishment systems designed under the principle of people at sea for a very, very long time and stuff like that. And, you know, things happen.
And keeping things in order.
Right. And in the last, say, 30 or 40 years, there has been a shift in how management operates. Right. They did. There's been a shift in how we've discovered management works. Here's a great example. Brian and I, neither one of us are getting paid to do all of this. And we're here routinely every night. You know, there are a few exceptions, but like tonight I had a birthday party I was at. Thank you, Brian, for starting the show.
You're welcome.
Tomorrow night they're talking about karaoke, and I am waffling as to whether I wish to go or not. It depends kind of on whether Brian would feel beset for starting the show twice in a row.
What do you mean? That'd be 3 times in a row, because I had to run it yesterday or Friday as well.
That's right. Because I was a few minutes late. So whether you feel beset by this or not, because I'm waffling, So I don't know. So the concept here is people need to be punished in order to keep them in line. And one of the things that sort of came about in this newer version of management styles that came out in sort of the 80s, 90s, 2000s, that is being kind of mocked by, the feelings version of management. What they have discovered is if you go for a respect reward situation instead of a punishment sort of cycle, you end up with not just 100% efficiency, but 120%. People will go further, stuff like that. We're thinking the voice box downtown is where we were thinking of going. Anyway, it's something I have been pondering here. If you had good mental health care, if you took away people fearing for food, fearing for not being able to have shelter, fearing for not doing stuff, like the fear of not having enough resources to live, what is your crime rate actually going to be? Because I think you'd rehabilitate people, you'd have them actually out on the streets. If you didn't have a system that made money off of incarceration, what would your actual crime rate be? probably pretty low. You'd still have one or two people out there who were way out there and needed to really be dealt with. But for the most part, you wouldn't. I mean, the majority of people out there would be relatively, because I mean, you think about it. Most people, when you talk to them, why did you do this thing? It was either they weren't in their right mind at that point in time, or they didn't have enough money and so they had to steal, or you know what I mean. Like all of these things are fixable. There's fixable things you can talk to people, you know. So it's kind of like if you had a system where everybody was being dealt with and corrected instead of just locked in a box, what would your crime rate actually be? I don't know. I'd have to think about that. And I've kind of been pondering this on a top level because there's been a lot of discussion about how Pike manages his ship. Because we have not yet seen so much as a sideways glance with his crew. Right. But first of all, crimes of boredom, that would be dealt with because you've got stuff you can do. That's another one. Crimes of boredom would be dealt with because you'd be valued for doing what you want to do instead of valued for doing what somebody else wants you to do. So that would be a different thing. Crimes of the occasional evil heart. I think that's again back to you'd have mental health care, which would kind of catch that early on. Revenge or anger issues, pride, ego, or jealousy. I think that would still occur. But if you dealt with them in okay, why did you do this? Let's rehabilitate you. Tagging the captain's coffee cup. If you dealt with that instead of saying, you did bad, and so we're going to lock you in a box, and instead said, okay, let's sit you down. What was your problem? How can we pay reparations to the person you hurt? How can we how can we fix all of this? I think that would get you a different outlook on how kind of the culture works. Something to think about. I've been really pondering this. Because this is something I really believe, but I'm not sure how I roll it out. You know what I mean? I'm not sure how to. That is a creepy ass smile, dude.
Thank you.
Just saying.
I was asked to draw this, and the subtool view. Oh my god, I love it because I could drop a reference in there and have it on the screen so I can see what I'm looking at while I'm drawing.
Right. Don't worry. I taught junior high. I'm good. Right? I think that would be kind of the thing. Right? It'd be Donald, you messed with my coffee. That's it. You're peeling potatoes with Neelix for a couple of days. Whatever. I mean, I feel like that would probably be the maximum. I mean, they've got cells in the front of the ship, but I feel like that's more for capturing the bad guys, the opposing nation, and less for their own people. It's an interesting thing you've brought up, Donald. I'm not disagreeing with you. But thinking about how you want kind of the future to be, right. You just have to deal with him. He's just going to grump at you. Gunny. Good old Gunny. Now he's Gunny. I don't know. I'm just thinking about it. It's a good thing to think about, though. Well, there's home. Right there. Well, I mean, like I said, you can always lock them in their quarters.
You know, it'd be funny if there was one guy that was perpetually drunk to the point that when he gets drunk, he just automatically walks down to the brig and puts himself in one of the cells.
Right. So here's the thing. I have known a number of people who are drunks. Alcoholism is generally something wrong with you. You have some inadequacy or some kind of issue like that you really need to deal with. And if you don't deal with it, then you deal with it by drowning yourself in alcohol or drugs or
Whatever.
food. Yeah. And if you had a system where as soon as those problems start to arise, your friends, your buddies, your coworkers put you in therapy, and nobody actually sits there and goes, "What? You're in therapy? Ew!" And all of none of those stigmas are there anymore, and all of that stuff. Then I don't think there would be alcoholism, because you'd start to drink a lot, and people would go, "You okay, Brian?" And they'd be like, "Hey, let's just take you." Yeah, that was exactly what happened to Andy Griffith. We'd be like, "Okay, Brian, you're kind of worrying me there, And we'd start to feel like maybe you need to go see the doctor for a little while. If you treat mental illness like a physical illness, hey, Brian, you're limping around a lot. Are you okay? Yeah, I don't know. I've been having a hard time getting out of bed in the morning. Well, let's go see a doctor. Same sort of thing. I don't think it'd get to the point where you just get slammed drunk and then go lock yourself into have to deal with that kind of stuff. Everybody who drinks too much that I know of has some demon that they're chasing. So I'm kind of the opinion that if you did something about those demons,
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
I feel like that would be useful.
But it goes along with that idea that we kind of stigmatize mental illness.
Yeah, that has to stop. I mean, we have to have whatever world I live in. Mental illness needs to not be stigmatized at all. You need to have a
that somehow
have some kind of throttle on it.
Somehow you're weak or a lesser being because you're suffering from this.
Yep, stress and battle conditions cause problems with people. But also, who knows the best how to handle those people? The army, the military.
Yeah.
Whether they do it or not is a completely different problem. But in my fictional imaginary world, the people most qualified to deal with this problem, those being the military, are most likely to do this in some way that works, you know? I agree with you. I don't know. I'm just kind of looking at this from a different point of view. I feel like all of our culture has up until now been reactive, right? We wait until somebody snaps and starts doing crazy crap, and then we go, oh no, and then deal with them, and then we have to lock them away for their own good, and then we have to put them in rubber rooms. And if you look at their story, they've had problems for years rolling up into that snap point. They've had problems that go back probably to their childhood, that, you know, at that point in time, you're like, whoa, you know. And so the whole thought is, why aren't we dealing with that then at childhood? Why are we, you know, waiting until we get to snapping point? Godzilla. It's kind of like, if you look at the mind as we look at the body, you know, why would you wait until, you know, until you can no longer speak to go check to see if you've got cancer of the throat? You know,
that sounds oddly directed there, Guy.
Actually, it was oddly directed, but it was oddly directed at Troy's brother.
Because you also got me in there.
I didn't mean to get you necessarily. Although you're here and you did it. You did fine. You did the thing. You're not dead. Right?
Thankfully.
And that's exactly what happened, right? For you, you started to feel bad. You thought something wasn't right. You went to the doctor. You fixed it. Yeah, except that you're also, there's a monetary issue involved here too, right?
No, well, there was a monetary issue, but at the time, that's not what happened. What happened was I went to the doctor because I needed Prozac because I have mental illness issues. My full family does.
Right.
And the doctor goes, when was the last time you actually had a physical? And I went, next to never. And she goes, okay, well, let's give you a physical. And she started going through, and she goes, okay, lift up your neck. And I did that, and she felt my throat, and she went, I don't like the feeling of that throat. We're looking at it.
Yeah. But there again, that is exactly what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that is precisely what I'm talking about. You went to a doctor. The doctor has a let's check for cancer screen. She did the job. You were caught. They fixed it. They got all of that stuff through. Now, yeah, I mean, you could have done it earlier and yada, 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 certainly.
Yeah, and that wouldn't have been the size of a golf ball or a, no, not a golf ball. That was softball.
And I'm not even saying, but the point I'm trying to kind of get at.
Yeah, no, I got you.
You know, and that's the whole thing, right? You know, you do that early enough, and it's not as big of a deal. And so that's my thought: is if you've got people who, I don't know, and this is following a specific logic set that, for example, my mother was into, because she was a probation officer and that was a thing. You know, but her thing was that we start out trying to do the right thing, and then we have to be taught to not do the right thing. You know, everybody has sort of a desire to do the right thing, so we have to be convinced not to. That was her belief system, and it's panned out to some degree. Oh yeah, yeah. Tell them they need to look at it, Donald. That's scary. Anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And I don't know. Maybe there's. I mean, I'm not ruling out what you're saying, Donald, at all. Not ruling it out at all. Just saying I'm kind of thinking of a different sort of concept. Neurologist. That's weird. Because they think it's a nerve cluster that's screwed up. That's why.
Anyways, I'm going to leave this show a little early. I'm tired today. So
Okay.
I will catch you later, guy.
I'll be here tomorrow if you want to join me.
Sounds
Cool.
good. I'll talk
See
to you
later,
later.
my friend. Thank you for starting me.
No problem. You have a nice night.
You too. Good night.
Bye.
Switch back to the Ring camera to monitor. Yeah, Donald, I hope to goodness that you can get that looked at. That's terrifying to me. So, the story of Todd, which is Troy's elder brother, is a one of warning that we often talk about because it is terrifying. Because he had throat cancer, and what had happened was he had a sore throat, and it was sore for a while, and he didn't get it looked at because he's poor, and and stuff like that. And then as time went on, it started to become kind of clear that there was something not right, And so he went finally to the doctor, and it was stage 4 cancer of the throat, and it was just too late. And so that's kind of the thing that Troy and I always sort of worry about, because my mom did the same thing. She had rheumatic fever when she was 5, and it damaged one of her heart valves. She had her first heart attack when she was 23 years old. And so they needed to replace that valve. It's a simple procedure, but it costs 63 grand, right? She never had 63 grand, so she never got it replaced. And then one day when she was 57 years old, she had a widowmaker heart attack and died. And that was it. And so both of those are, to a degree, warning signs that, we're kind of like, So it makes us nervous when we hear things like what you're talking about there, because Troy and I both feel like this is, something. And it's part of the reason also why I get so aggravated and upset. Cancer of the throat, same thing. That stupid cancer. God, I hate that cancer thing. Ugh. But it's the same critter, right? And I feel that, man. I feel it so much. I mean, even Dad died of. Technically, Dad died of lung problems because he smoked forever. He knew. But that's what I was saying earlier today. Socialized medicine. The VA may not be perfect, but it kept my dad alive 20 years longer than my mom because she was waiting to figure out how she was going to get the money to do her surgery. That never happened. So, yeah, it's a thing. I feel like this is a big thing going on here. We're doing good here. Don't need to repeat that guy, though. Let's just get some scrambly stuff going on. I'm gonna scramble a little here. I'm just going to scramble the stars a little. Because I've given up. The stars are remarkably accurate for what we've got going on. You know, that's Betelgeuse. Betelgeuse right there. We're going to go on ahead and, since this is from Moment, going ahead and mess it up really good. Right? It almost does, doesn't it? Because if you think about the way this is going to have blown up, and it blew up a long time ago. So most of what we're seeing here is just the cloud being, I'm going to take fingerprint. I'm going to do this. I should not have done this way, but that's all right. And kind of pushing it around a little. There we go. Now, the other thing is we're on the other side of the wall. So I'm going to want to put in here the wall because it's over here. All right, so that's Betelgeuse. That's what's left of Betelgeuse. And actually, let's put a ring around it. If you love me, put a ring around it. Right, like something like that. An accretion disc. And put that on a different layer though so we can actually mess with it. Because what we're going to want is to do kind of this thing. And kind of an explosion ring going out of material coming out from the actual star itself. So when the star went nova, or in this case it's a supernova, would have had this accretion disk along the outside edge where you would have had, sort of a dispersion of the star's materials coming out like so. I'm going to bring this in like this. So you have, yeah, it's a visual aesthetic. And it doesn't need to be that bright. It can be like this, so that you can still see the bubble of explosion that's there. And know that there was a bubble, and it blew up. And we're never going to get this close to Betelgeuse in this story. And if we do, I'll redraw it much, much closer. So for right now, this is what it looks like from pretty much anywhere in the Unity. It's going to look similar to this. But since we're on the other side of the wall, we're also going to and actually let's go ahead and control. We're on the other side of the wall, so we're going to add the wall. The wall is oxygen hydrogen gas, which lives in this area quite a bit. Right, we're just putting in this. It's just trails of gas, which is part of what the wall is, right? Going along this here and kind of doing this number. And we're doing it in color, even though it's going to be ultimately in black and white. But for right now, we're doing it in color. And we're kind of just pushing in a little. We'll come back in here and kind of mess it up a little in a second. Right, but for right now, we're just kind of giving a feel of what the body of this is. All right, so we're kind of going through here, kind of like this, and just a little of this kind of thing going on. Then we're going to take the blend tool, and we're going to take the fingertip tool. This is going to make my poor PC hate life. This is why it hates life. We're just going to mess it up a little. We're going to give gas lanes here now. And give it folds. And just give it some character. Type 1 H1 and O1 clouds. So these are these clouds are just the aesthetic of gas, sort of. Yes. Well, and that's kind of the thing, right? I mean, that's what makes those things do what they do. A little past midnight, but that's okay. I'm still making wall, so I'm gonna. However, I am getting tired of boom, ding, boom, boom, ding. It's starting to drive me crazy. So here's the night sky as seen from Moment. I'm going to go ahead and pull this a little further out this way. Right, I've done that. I'm going to come in here with a 100 and just kind of fuss it up a little right around here. Give it some real interesting effects. Because most of the time when we see this, we're going to be really close. Now, I have made this discussion before online, and we're taking some artistic liberty here. And the reason we're taking artistic liberty is even when you think about how close these clouds are on the other side of the wall, it's still not gonna. Oh, yeah. Me too. It's time. I'm gonna go to bed. So I'm gonna save this. We're just going to call this Moments of Stars for right now. I can resume tomorrow, right? All right. Thank you for staying with me, Donald. I appreciate it. Hope you have a wonderful night. And I'll see you tomorrow whenever we get back to this stuff, because still got work to do. Good night.